welcome, Stephen. Go ahead and tell us about where you work and your photography background.
Henry Ryan, thank you guys for having me on the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. I'm definitely excited to be here, and I wanted to give a shout out to Hunts for introducing us. Hunts Photo camera store in New England, a couple locations. Um, so, quick background on Laowa. Um, Venus Optics is the company. Laowa is a brand of lenses, relatively young lens manufacturer, established in 2013. So still less than 10 years old at this point. I have had a relationship with the company for about 5 years, and last year I took over as the national sales manager here in the U.S. Um, it, Two different directions. So the background on me is uh, camera stores. I started about 20 years ago here in Buffalo, New York, working for Delaware Camera, a small family-owned camera store that is still in business today. Um, and that was my first job right out of high school. When I was, I think when I was in fourth grade, I people would ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I didn't have an answer, but I had a camera at that point, and so I started to answer with I want to be a photographer,
Hmm.
and it developed from there. And started working, assisted on my first weddings at 16, uh, shooting events, uh, shooting with the local sports photographer. I got to shoot the Buffalo Sabres, and I got to shoot a bunch of other pro sports, arena football, a lot of fun stuff. Um, and as I was shooting, I was starting to realize that I love photography. I don't necessarily like being a photographer.
Hmm.
It is a lot of work. It is the creative aspects and the push and drive there is stuff that I didn't quite have. I looked and saw other photographers. Uh, for example, like so, my sister does not have a photo background, doesn't have a technical understanding. If I hand her my camera, she can pick it up and take some amazing, beautiful pictures because she has an eye, right? The composition component of photography is so important and so critical. And my approach to photography is much more of a technical.
Hmm.
I'm a technical photographer, and so the practice for me is composition, is uh, creating a compelling image, not necessarily a technically complex. Because I'll sit there and dial in from a technical standpoint, trying to get an image just perfect, but the composition is so much more important. Um, so first job out of high school was so I'd been working. I had been recommended by somebody to talk to the camera store, which I think is a great path for people that are interested in photography but aren't quite sure uh, how to make it a full-time thing or how to make it into a career. Uh, starting in Starting working at a camera store, you are exposed to all different kinds of photography, all different kinds of equipment, and um, building a network and building relationships with other photographers, which certainly is a very valuable asset to have. Um, so I worked on and off for the camera store for about 10 or 11 years. Went back to college a couple times in there, and worked a whole bunch of different roles and different things. And then eventually I went back to school. I went to Syracuse University and studied business. I got my MBA in 2013. Looking for jobs, the owner of the camera store said that I should talk to it's the Photographic Research Organization, which is a co-op of about 120 camera stores around the U.S., a handful in Canada, and at this point they've got uh, dealers in Australia, Costa Rica, and I believe England now as well. So um, it's a co-op. So it's the company is owned by all of the different camera stores, and they function in a bunch of different ways to help support those camera stores with marketing tools and distribution, as well as some other exclusive camera accessory brands.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I worked for Pro for about 5.5 years. Uh, I was a product manager on the Laowa account. Laowa was distributed through Pro, and so that sort of led me to where I am at this point, working directly for Laowa as the national sales manager. Um, so yeah, so that's a little clip of my background. Photography has always been a thread throughout my career and throughout what I do. I still don't consider myself a photographer,
Hmm.
which I get some flack from people because I am taking pictures all the time. Uh, I have more cameras than probably more cameras than most people that consider themselves photographers and lenses and equipment. So I still don't consider myself a photographer because that's still aspirational to me, I guess. Um, Being able to support myself or to be able to yeah, have a career around my photographs and be uh, creating images uh, that are compelling enough to support a career. That I've recognized is not my goal, not my skill set. I enjoy photography. I enjoy shooting. For a long time, I've said that the photography is for me. Um, but now I'm starting to realize that uh, it becomes a teaching and training tool. I enjoy learning about the different pieces of equipment and learning about photography to be able to help other people shoot better and to be able to help other people understand different pieces of gear. And so that's where Laowa is such a great fit for me and for my approach to photography. Um, I have spent the last year that I've been the national sales manager, um, constantly picking up a different camera, a different lens, trying to take pictures in different ways so that I can learn and understand the different pieces of equipment so that I can help better explain it and uh, help better show it to other photographers and show them how they can use these tools in their creative pursuits. Um, yeah, I think that gives enough of like my background.
Hmm.
I've at this point my primary subject. I've got a 5-year-old daughter who is beautiful, and uh, slowly but surely I am training her to be a good muse and a good portrait subject. Um, yeah, right. I always so one of my favorite photographers, a very close friend, uh, uh, who's a wedding photographer here in Buffalo, New York, Jeff Barnes, Jeffrey T. Barnes Photography. I worked with him at the camera store when I was just starting out, and I've said I knew who my wedding photographer was going to be before I knew who the bride was going to be.
Wow.
Yeah, just his work is beautiful, and he just
Yeah.
has such a great approach to it. And so um, he has he has 5 children, and having watched his children grow up, they're all, I believe, in their 20s at this point. Um, yeah, they must all be in their 20s at this point if I've been doing this for 20 years. Um, yeah, they were his subjects, and he was able to shoot a lot of amazing, amazing pictures just because, right, Dad, you've got the camera. What do you? Okay, yep, we're doing this. Fine. And like, all right, yes, we're taking pictures, and so having kids, one, it's you have kids so that you have somebody to mow the lawn, but also as a photo subject, as a model. So,
Yes.
yeah, so most of my photography at this point uh, certainly has a lot has been of her and family growing up stuff.